I'm only playing that. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Midday Show. I'm only playing that. I'll tell you before, because I hooked up with some folks who were in from New York. I'd never met them before. They wanted to have a little bit of a meet, and I had to say so. And in fact, one of them will be my guest on Walk the Talk, The Hero's Journey, which I do with Mark Collin every week. It drops. Yeah. Drops at 5 a.m. every Friday. And she's terrific. Her name's Quinn Lemley. That'll be coming out in a few weeks' time. Very interesting woman. I don't know if you caught her in cabaret. Anyway, the Midday Show for a Friday. Lighter, jollier. It's still me. Speaking of being lighter and John, let's just look at some comments. What we got here. Good afternoon, all, says Barry Allen. Good afternoon to you. And Dr. Asa Don Brown, PhD, DNCCM, CCC. I've got Blockbusters video member after my name. A good day. Look at this. Look at all these in it. Look at this. What does it mean? PhD we know. DNCCM, not a clue. Triple C, Clearwater, Credence Clearwater, Clevival, and Fayette. I have no idea. And it also, he's in northeast New York State, and always in a state, but in New York is Elizabeth Green. Hi, Elizabeth. Morning to you. You found us, right? You know him. You love him. He is the master of, excuse me, sorry, I'm sorry, that's my seat over there. Sorry, could you just, I'm so sorry. Our theatre critic, Mr. Jonathan Baz.
Russ, good afternoon.
Yes,
and
yes, that's me. Yes.
Great to be here on this new link, this new platform.
Thank you so much. Thanks for staying with us, JB. I hugely appreciate it. You know, you never know what's going to go on in life, but I'm thrilled that you stayed with us.
Indeed.
And very well.
For me to have the privilege of working with such a classic broadcaster as yourself.
Yeah. Thank you very much. You're very kind.
It seems appropriate to open with a slightly classical approach to London's theatre scene, with a little bit of Shakespeare to kick this afternoon's session off.
I always think of it as the morning, by the way.
Indeed, yes.
Yeah,
it's
I do.
It's there are three Shakespearean productions that I want to touch upon, and then we'll come on to matters musical. Anyway, we're going to start at the bottom and work up. And
so it's Midsummer Night's Dream. See what I did there?
Boom, boom.
Boom.
What an ass. What an ass. Anyway, no, not quite so much that one. This is Othello at Shakespeare's Globe. Shakespeare's Globe, renowned, as you know, for upending productions and where one's expecting traditional castings to find them untraditional, and where Othello is, of course, the Moor of Venice, traditionally paid by a person of colour. Years and years and years ago, disgracefully, when such was the norm, you had Laurence Olivier putting on blackface. Thankfully, those days are behind us, long behind us.
Could I just jump in? JB, let me just jump in just for a sec. You've used an interesting word, which I can't let slip by. You said disgracefully. I hear what you're saying, and I get what you're saying, but I think we're of an age, you and I, well, I certainly am, that you can't judge everything with the perspective of 2024. You know, when Olivia played Othello in blackface, now you look at it and go, really? But then it was the Laurence Olivier. So I'm not going to get deeply offended about it. It was what it was, and it's changed. Times change, things evolve.
And sadly, in amongst my 30 minutes, I'd love to expand on a greater discussion with you on the culture wars of where we find ourselves today.
Let's do it on a Monday. We'll do it on a Monday or a Wednesday.
With pleasure. But I was expecting, with the fact that the Globe upend things, and that Othello in recent years traditionally been played by a raft of our finest actors of colour, I was half expecting a white woman to be playing the role, if the Globe were to be true to form. However, they've played it traditional on Othello, certainly in how they've cast it. And a rather fine actor called Ken Nwosu steps up to play the title role. Unfortunately, that is where the fineness stops. But the script is cobblers. The director, Ola, I don't know if it's a chap, excuse me. The director, Ola Ince.
Sorry, what is that? That sounds like something you get in a Swedish delicatessen. What the hell is that?
Olaince. So Ola has set their production of Othello in London in 2023. So this is more, as I said in my review, he's more Moorgate than Venetian, to be honest. They've given it a backdrop of the Metropolitan Police. And I'm the first to agree that the Metropolitan Police is certainly a flawed institution. They are far from perfect. However, Ince has taken Othello and has shoehorned his own anti-police arguments into it with countless references to Governor and Scotland Yard. It's like watching a ghastly episode of The Sweeney, but one that lasts for 3 hours.
Let me stop you. I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you because we've created sacrilege. There never was a ghastly episode of The Sweeney.
Agreed.
Sweeney was great.
Agreed. But imagine in your worst nightmare that there could be, and it lasts for 3 hours.
Imagine seeing anything for 3 hours.
This is what it is.
My worst
nightmare.
Mean,
to be fair, they wrap it all up by tasering Othello. Well, whatever. What else? Let us move swiftly on. To be fair, as I say,
do you know what's cracking me up here? Because they've obviously had like about 20,000 meetings to produce this pile of whatever, and they've had and so I've got a great idea. What's that? And we do, great. And no one said this is cack. Stop it. It's rubbish. Maybe they like it.
He does a great job as Othello, to be fair. And Ralph Davis, as the bad guy of the piece, the villain Iago, is also not at all bad. The woman who plays Desdemona, Poppy Gilbert, or as she's frequently referred to in the script, Desi. For God's sake. Quite.
How much of the script, I've got to ask you this, because you're alluding to it, but we want to do a little bit more of a deep dive. How much of the script did they butcher?
A lot.
It's not theirs to do that with. It's not.
Let's move on and let's move downstream. Let's move downstream from Shakespeare's Globe to Canada Water. We're currently at Dock X, which is a massive warehouse just off.
Hang on, because
Dock X is it's in the retail park near Canada Water tube station.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah,
Google it and it's easy to find. Macbeth has pulled up there, playing until the end of March. This is the Macbeth with Ralph Fiennes in the title role, and Indira Varma as his good wife, Lady Macbeth. It opened in Liverpool in another warehouse up there, played there for a month or so, then went to Edinburgh. Now it's got, as I say, this 6 weeks or so stint, 7 weeks or so stint at Dock X. There are still some tickets available. I'm not too sure what the prices are. They may not be the cheapest. And then it goes to Washington, D.C., where incredibly it is sold out completely.
Well, it's
the entire run.
Ralph Fiennes, of course. Or is it Ralph Fiennes?
Ray. Well, I think one pronounces it Rafe.
Right.
He is, I've got to be honest, the two of them are brilliant.
Yeah.
It's the best Macbeth I've seen in many, many years.
Indeed.
Macbeth is a very popular story. It's put on frequently. It's often in the O-level GCSE texts at schools. So it's frequently on our stages. And frequently I find myself, it's an average performance or it's a little bit underwhelming. Yeah. A woman called Emily Burns has worked hard on the script. And to be fair, whatever she's done to it is relatively seamless, because it still flows beautifully. She's chopped the porter. I quite like the porter, this drunken old chap who adds a bit of comedy to it after the murder. But Ralph Fiennes is brilliant. He's just a
wonderful actor, isn't he?
He makes the verse come alive. Indira Varma is fabulous as his scheming wife, a little bit frail, a little bit fragile, but mildly gorgeous and bloody brilliant performance.
Great.
I've not seen a Macbeth as good as this one for a long while. If you can get a ticket to it, it's really well worth whatever it costs you, because Macbeths this good don't come along very, very often.
And I tell you this, it's easy to get to because Canada Waters, just get on the Jubilee line and head towards Stratford. It's great. That's my hang.
Now,
and it's nice around there. I'm thrilled they've opened a sort of theatre type place.
Well, it's not. No, to be honest, they've put a load of seats and bleachers into a warehouse and put staging and scenery in there. But you know, when the show's finished, it'll revert to being, gosh no, whatever Doc X is. You know,
well, that was one of the biggest. I wonder if they're using the place that was Printworks, which is one of the biggest clubs in Europe, and people would fly in from all over Europe because I'd see them lining up the streets for Printworks, which was like an all-night club.
My final Shakespearean nod, and I'm going to stray slightly into Chantal's territory here, because this is a film, and this is a film of Hamlet that was created, in fact, during lockdown when theatre performances weren't allowed, and Bill Kenwright and Jenny Seagrove, his other half, and sort of the leaders of the Bill Kenwright Company, decided to stage a Hamlet as a movie. They filmed it entirely within the Theatre Royal Windsor, but this isn't one of those productions where it's a stage show and the cameras are in the audience in the stalls pointing at the stage, which I have to say I find quite a dry way of seeing a play.
Never works.
They've actually, Sean Mathias, who's a very good director and worked a lot with Ian McKellen, has storyboarded the whole thing brilliantly, and it works very, very well across the whole of the theatre. They've used the stalls, the stage, the circle, the toilets, the backstage areas, the front of house, whatever. It's a fabulous take on the play. It's only on in cinemas for one night only on February the 27th. I think it's fantastic for a simple reason that you get to hear Ian McKellen, who plays Hamlet, as a relatively old chap. Hamlet's famously a young prince.
Yes.
But you get to hear Ian McKellen say these speeches, give them an interpretation, the likes of which you can only dream of hearing. You know, I've seen a few Macbeths. I've seen probably even more Hamlets. This one is lovely. It's going to be on a local cinema on February the 27th, and then is likely to be streaming afterwards, though the streaming details are not yet published. And I was also lucky enough to catch up with Jenny Seagrove, who plays Hamlet's mother, Gertrude. And Russ, if you can press the button, this is the recording of a very lovely chat that I had with Jenny.
We are so impressed. So we'll take Jonathan off. And now?
I'm joined now by Jenny Seagrove, who in a variety of talents, most recently on screen, has played Gertrude in Hamlet, as the mother, of course, of Hamlet, famously. But in this production, which comes to cinemas for one night only on February the 27th, Hamlet is played by the remarkable Ian McKellen, who not only is an outstanding actor and Shakespearean actor, is of course some considerable number of years older than Jenny. And Jenny, if I could firstly please ask you to tell me about that role and playing Gertrude to a Hamlet who's a little bit older than you.
Well, first you have to put it into context, because our production was age blind, color blind, and gender blind. So we're all over the place. So basically what we are asking ourselves and the audience to do is to look at the other person and see their soul and not the exterior. So that's easy with Ian, because he may be a bit crumpled in his face, but actually the soul and the energy of the man could be a 25-year-old. And I'm really comfortable suspending my own illusion and looking at him and going, "You're my son, I love you." It really was that simple. And because he is such an extraordinary actor, the joy of making a movie and then taking the performance onto a stage production once lockdown had eased, because we made all of this during COVID in lockdown.
So did the film predate the stage show?
It did. What happened was the cast was put together before COVID. We were meant to start, and then COVID happened, and everything got locked down. And Bill Kenwright, my other half, said at the time, "Oh, it'll only last 3 months. We'll set it up again for September." So September came, and things were a little lifted, and we had a week's rehearsal, and we got shut down again. So he and Sean put their heads together, and they both decided that what we should do, because people were allowed to film, was make a movie. So he said to Sean, "Go away and write a script, set it in the Theatre Royal Windsor, which is where our production was. And it's a theatre that Bill Kenwright Limited actually owns. And we'll make it." So Sean went away and wrote this wonderful idea of kind of Elsinore in this theatre, and used all the rooms all over the theatre and the stage and the auditorium and the toilets, and you name it, he used it. And so we shot this in lockdown with all the social distancing, all the COVID testing every day, all the, instead of catering, we had sort of funny little plastic things brought into us. But it was wonderful. It was wonderful to be working. And then when COVID finally lifted enough to do a proper production rather than a socially distanced one, we then re-rehearsed and did it at the Theatre Royal Windsor for, I think, about 6 or 8 weeks.
Gosh, I hadn't realised that the film predated the stage show.
Yes, our stage show was a stage show. This is a feature film.
Oh no, absolutely, and it's been brilliantly story. I should add the Sean that you've referred to is, of course, Sean Matthias, who's directed, and I think he's got a very, very good professional understanding of not only the company but of Sir Ian McKellen as well. Absolutely knows how to coax fabulous work from all of you. And I'd say Ian is certainly one of our greatest Shakespearean actors.
Do you know what? His first soliloquy is worth the price of the ticket alone. It is just, you're mesmerized. But also what we wanted to do was make Shakespeare accessible. And so we cut all the these and the thys, and we made them you and yours, which actually messed up the poetry quite a lot, but it doesn't matter. And anything we didn't understand and we couldn't make work for a modern audience, we sort of went, well, if we can't understand and we can't make it work, we want this to be accessible, so we're going to cut it. So it is a very trimmed down. You've got the bare bones of the thriller, because Hamlet is a thriller.
Oh yeah,
and it's a rocking good story with an element of, well, a huge amount of dollop of psychology in the middle. And you've got this great giant of a man in Ian McKellen playing this tortured, wonderful creature, Hamlet.
And I think it's something that you said right at the beginning of this conversation about, you looked at Ian and you the soul of your son who you were playing. His opening up was wonderful. I quite liked Alice Wynne Davis as Ophelia.
Oh, she was wonderful. She was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, she was
little rock star.
Revelation. Often I can find Ophelia's mad scene a little bit tedious, and she brought it to life. And aside from yourself, there's such a fabulous company. You've got Stephen Burkhoff as a gorgeously pompous Polonius.
Frankie Barber as player number one.
Yes,
and some wonderful young new talent.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
Ben Allen, Ashley Gale. All sorts of wonderful Jonathan.
It's only on. I'm going to lodge a mild complaint. Why is it only on in cinemas for one night only? To take a line from a song.
You would have to ask the people who've bought the distribution rights. I suspect it's because they they suspect that no one wants to go to see Shakespeare. And I suspect they might be surprised, because I think people will want to see this one. So who knows? Maybe there'll be
sure it'll be on
it.
all the streaming platforms immediately thereafter, no doubt.
I hope so, because I really do want people to be able to watch it and go, oh my goodness, Shakespeare's amazing.
Indeed. Well, I think on those words, Jenny, thank you ever so much. Shakespeare is amazing. And in the work that you and the Bill Kenwright Company have put together with this movie, with Ian in the title role, is amazing. It's fantastic.
My bill. It was my bill. We take no credit. It was him. It was his idea. So he's not with us any longer, but I hope he's looking down going, that's great, job done.
It is. February the 27th, folks, in the cinemas. Buy your tickets. It may well be streaming afterwards, but it's certainly on at your local picture house on February the 27th. Jenny, thank you ever so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Picture house. Get you. Picture house. She's fantastic, isn't she? And I think we need to spend just a moment, Jonathan. Bill Kenwright's impact on British theatre, his legacy, the number of people he gave a start to, who he encouraged, an amazing man.
And continues to employ a relatively diverse raft of shows. I mean, you know, even right now they've got Cruel Intentions going on at the Other Palace, which is a musical, a bit of a jukebox musical from the 90s. They've got 12 Angry Men touring the country. They've got Blood Brothers touring the country.
Wow.
Jenny Seagrove now sits really as the sort of the driving force of the company. She sits at the top of it, following Bill's passing away. And they are not, the productions that they put on are not pretentious. They are broadly accessible theatre, and they're catering to a diverse range of interests. I think the Bill Kenwright Company are absolutely brilliant for what they're doing. So much of their stuff, of course, is also regional. You know, it's actors that are on the road, flogging themselves up and down the country. And of course, one of the great advantages of regional theatre is that you're not gouged in the way that you are in the West End for ticket prices. So they are a fabulous corporation doing fabulous work, and Bill Kenwright was an amazing guy. I think this film is brilliant. Do go and see it. Like I say, it's only one night only. Hopefully it will be streaming, and as and when it is streamed, Russ, well, I'll give it a bit of a plug for the streaming channels as soon as I know them.
Do that. I can see you.
Now, moving on to things far more contemporary, though actually dating back in time, probably a few millennia before Shakespeare's time. Hades Town has opened in the West End this week.
Yep.
It's a musical that first popped up at the National Theatre in 2018, written by Anais Mitchell. I hope I've pronounced her first name correctly. And directed and co-created by her director and co-creator, Rachel Chavkin. And what I really like about Hades Town is it is a completely fresh approach to writing a musical. And Anais Mitchell has taken classical Greek mythology, hence the name Hades Town, and framed a musical around the story of Orpheus going into the underworld to rescue the love of his life, Eurydice. Eurydice, I think that's how I pronounce that. Excuse me.
Euripides, you buy another pair. Sorry, Marx Brothers.
I think that's the joke about you. Yeah, that's the old joke about Euripides, Eumenides, the other tailor. Anyway, we'll save the Greek tailors for another day. Okay. It is a really imaginative musical. The musical the styles of music, there's a lot of New Orleans in there. There's a lot of jazz. Everyone's on stage throughout. The musicians are on stage. The actors are, for the most part, on stage throughout. It's a very exciting show. It will certainly appeal to the young.
Who can't afford the ticket. So there you go. You fall at the first fence. This is the problem.
two youngish performers take the leads of these doomed lovers, Orpheus and Eurydice. Donald Finn is Orpheus, and is an Irish guy with a fabulous voice, absolutely gorgeous. And opposite him as Eurydice is Grace Hodgett Young, who recently made her West End debut in Sunset Boulevard, in the rather revolutionary production that starred Nicole Scherzinger as Norma Desmond. She popped up there as, oh gosh, what's the name of the secretary? Completely slipped my mind. Anyway, she is the
Can I have a small piece?
Betty Schaefer. Betty Schaefer. She stepped up into that role very well, I have to say. It really is the sort of the number 2 female lead in the show, or the female featured character. And the two of them are lovely. Above them, there are some strong character performances. A chap called Zachary James plays Hades. He is magnificent.
Well,
I tell you something, the bass in his voice makes the theatre rumble more than the tube trains going underneath.
You know what fascinates me about this, JB, is the Evening Standard's review yesterday hated it. And I'm fascinated how it all comes down to personal taste. They loathed it. I mean, it was a brutal review.
Clive Davis of the Times gave it 5 stars this week. You know, I've given it 4. The reason why it's dropped a star, in my opinion, is a little bit of politics that gets shoehorned in just before the interval, to make sure that we're all thinking the right way. I found that a minor annoyance, but I don't think it should detract from the overall brilliance of what this writer, Anais Mitchell, has done to pen these songs and put the show together. Zachary James, I say, is Hades. He is magnificent, an absolutely gorgeous voice. In the female leads of the featured characters in the show, as well as the 2 young lovers, you've got Gloria Onitiri, who plays Persephone, who's this poor woman who was doomed to spend half her life in Hades, half her life up on planet Earth, or down up or down with the mortals. And a Hermes is created, and this time played by
obviously doesn't turn up. Presumably that doesn't turn up. Yay!
Boom.
Come on! Boom.
Hermes played by the equally brilliant Melanie Labarry, and she serves really as the narrator. So because I'm guessing there's going to be a huge chunk of the audience that are not going to be familiar with classical Greek mythology.
You think?
And to that extent, also Anais Mitchell is to be praised, because she's going to be dragging a lot of people who aren't familiar with Orpheus in the underworld, or Hades, or the whole lot of them. She's written this show. It is, in my opinion, a very, very clever show. It's on for a good few months in London. I hope it
Did
lasts
it replace,
the run.
Jonathan? Did it replace the Time Traveller? Because I'm always in so.
No, the Time Traveller's Wife was
on?
not on at the Lyric. I don't.
Oh, okay. Because when I walk up Shaftesbury Avenue, I can see they were building the whole thing, and the posters were out, and I thought, I don't fancy that at all. And I really don't fancy the Time Traveller's Wife at all, even less.
I think that's actually coming to a quiet close. Forgive me, I don't know the date. Hades Town, though, it's opening. It's very, very good. And that's that.
But
that's
it weird? Isn't it weird? There you are, and you're praising it, and you know your onions. I mean, I just make soppy comments, but you know your stuff. I know what I like. And as I said, the Evening Standard absolutely savaged it last night and said, "Oh God, there was like a reprise," and I think the review said, "Oh no, please no more." So it was as brutal as that. They didn't like it. They didn't like it.
Clive Davis ended his review by saying there are far too many standing ovations in the West End these days, but on this occasion, this one was thoroughly deserved. I think
we're lucky. I think we're lucky before we bring the fabulous Chantal Rickards OBE on. But I think we're lucky because if you watch television now, any of the dancing shows or the ice shows or anything, they sing and they make a note, not the end, like in the middle of a song. Everyone's screaming and cheering like this. That's their job, for God's sake. Stop it. So it's a miracle, I suppose, in theater when in the middle of a song, people don't start whooping and screaming. I mean, I don't get it. It's
They obviously haven't seen a musical in America.
Not since I lived there. When they were the best. There was Chorus Line just opened. I went to the opening of that. I mean, it was great. All the fabulous classic shows. It was great. That was something, man. That was something else. Jonathan, fabulous. I'll stick in one more, and I think it's called Double Bill on at the Hampstead Theatre. It was okay. It was about things that I thought were going to be great. Alfred Hitchcock and Tippi Hedren and Vincent Price and Michael, Reeves, who made Witchfinder General. I thought it's a very clever concept. It was all right. It wasn't great.
Good.
It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great. Okay, fella, bless you for that. Thank you so much. Thank you for
I'll see you in 2 weeks.
I'll see you in 2 weeks. Thank you for being part of the Midday Show. Hugely appreciated. Well done getting an interview with Jenny Seagrove, which is great. Until we meet again in a couple of weeks' time, Jonathan Baz, Mr. Theatre. He's a great guy. Such a nice man. Now, it would not be a Friday without the pulchritudinous ponderings. Oh, come on, that's pretty good. I just thought of that. The musings and sheer visual magnificence of, you know her and you love her even more than I do, and that's saying something, Chantal Rickards OBE.
You get more ridiculous every week.
You know it. You know it. You should. That's a tiny glimpse of what's inside my head most of the time. It's a nightmare.
It's very worrying. That's all I can say.
Don't want to be me. Yeah, really don't.
How are you? You're having a lovely week.
No, I'm good. Thank you very much. I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, I've had a great week. It's been sort of all things BAFTA in the last few days. So yeah, did you watch the BAFTAs on Sunday night?
No, I watched David Tennant's opening monologue, the opening shtick with Michael Sheen. I thought that was cute.
Yeah,
I liked that. I thought David Tennant had terrific energy. I loved all that, but I never watch award shows. I can't bear them. I'll be honest, it's just me. And I know it's your whole thing, but I can't bear watching them. So I went off and I think I watched Father Brown or something. Which I love.
No, well, I have to admit to not watching it either because it wasn't mine. So I had seen the results before it even got to television because it was time shifted by 2 hours. So I just thought I did watch the David Tennant Open because I wanted to see that.
Yeah,
and then on the clips afterwards, I did watch the Gatecrasher turning up on stage for the for Oppenheimer winning the best film.
Really? I didn't know that. What is that? I missed all that. Sorry.
Yeah,
I've been a bit
busy. It's not great. Not BAFTA's finest hour. Not when you've got
some stranger wandered on
in the audience.
Oh Christ! So a stranger
a stranger who's a social influencer apparently.
Oh, for God's sake! You mean unemployed?
Well,
someone who's got very rich parents.
Yes,
I don't know.
I'm not sure he'll get employed now.
What a load of crap. God, I hate that stuff.
And the interesting thing is that in the old days that somebody had something to say and, there was that people would protest. And I'm all for a good, let's just protest about something we believe in. But just to stand there and say absolutely nothing, I just thought, what was the point? What on earth were you doing?
I mean,
what were you trying to achieve? Well, exactly.
The ego on these people. The ego and the total lack of talent is in equal measure. What's the point?
No.
And I think it's so desperate. Before we get on to all your stuff, it is such a pathetic reflection of how we live. You have a social influencer so we can see how to live. I don't need you to tell me how to live. Thank you. No. You're an idiot. And I'm not interested in what you have to say. I don't care what brand of garbage you're pushing this week. I don't care. I don't need it. Yeah. I don't understand the whole thing, but there you go. It is what it is. What it is.
I know, but I've said
they can get paid fortunes. God damn.
And fame is corrosive. Yeah. Hopefully, one of these days he will realise that. Keith
Allen's quote, which I will now screw up. Yeah. He said, "Fame if I get it slightly wrong, I apologise. If Keith Allen terrifies me, to be honest with you. Keith Allen said, "Fame is a mask that will eat your face off."
Oh wow, I've never heard that.
I thought that was so true. He said it about 30 plus years ago.
Really?
And I thought, if ever you wanted a definition of fame, it's a mask you put on that'll eat your face. He's right.
That's a great phrase. I haven't heard it. I shall use it.
Yeah. So this person just stood there like a lemon and wandered off, or something.
And Killian was on the stage, and Christopher Nolan and his wife Emma, and she was accepting the award, and this guy just stood at the back. I mean, it was just sort of a bit of a mystery, because I sort of looked at it and thought it was a bit random.
Well, did you think they were the sound? They could have been like the sound editor, or no.
Yeah. Well, the reason that he wasn't dragged off is that nobody was quite sure. And I think at just at that moment, Emma was saying to all the other people in the audience who were part of the Oppenheimer team to come on the stage. Oh. But this guy was obviously waiting to walk on the stage at that very moment. And on he walked, and nobody stopped him. So anyway.
Were you surprised, as a professional, as ex-CEO of BAFTA Los Angeles, it's been it's what you do for a living. Were you surprised at the results, or were they pretty predictable?
Pretty predictable. Yeah, pretty predictable. I can't say anything really shocked me. No, I mean, I suppose my only beef really is that a lot of the winners were sort of alternative films, slightly niche market films. And in a way, that's a sadness for me, because there are so many brilliant films out there that are popular films, but they just never get a look in, because, BAFTA members tend to vote for the slightly more esoteric. And I sort of fight that yin and yang between esoteric versus popular, because I think popular is a good thing. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad movie. So
I'm going to do a quote. I'm going to do another quote. My former neighbor was Mickey Most, the music
really?
giant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember we never spoke, oddly enough. And he was just up the road. I'd see him every day. And Mickey Most was on was it New Faces? I think it was New Faces with the wonderful Tony Hatch, who I had the pleasure of seeing the other day. And I love Tony Hatch. What a genius. Anyway, he was sitting on the panel of New Faces, and somebody was being snippy about pop music.
Yeah.
And he said, pop music, the word pop, it's short for popular music.
Indeed.
And what it means is someone's got off their backside. He was much more polite than I am. Somebody's got off their backside, gone down to the shop in those days, and bought the record with their hard-earned money and come home and played it. It's popular. Yeah. There's no need to deride because it's got the word popular. I've always been a populist. I think popular is fine. If it's popular, people like it. Indeed. Don't be snobby about it. If you don't like it, like me, don't watch it. It's fine. Don't watch it. It's okay.
Yeah. I mean, the esoteric films Oppenheimer was the biggest blockbuster film and did win Best Picture. And actually, of the choices that were left, that was terrific and fine. And I put my cross against that for best film from the ones that were on the list. Because obviously they start whittling down the list months out. And then by the time you get to the end, you've only got 6 choices.
Who does the whittling? Seriously, I'm fascinated by the mechanics.
No, we as members do that. So you have first round voting, second round voting, and I think third round voting.
Okay.
So by the time you get to third round voting, which we only completed 5 days before the awards, there were only 6 movies left to
was Killers of the Flower Moon, was that in it or not? Not a contender.
Didn't really get anything at all. Completely overlooked. Barbie, pretty much completely overlooked. Yeah. American Fiction, which has been my favorite film of the year, did get a BAFTA for Best Adapted Screenplay. Emma Stone won for the crazy film that is called Poor Things, which if people go to see it,
bit controversial apparently.
Very controversial, super bonkers film, hypersexualized. It's mad basically.
Okay. Don't tell me it's like the end of Saltburn.
No, well, Saltburn got overlooked as well.
Good, thank God for that.
Yeah,
Hooray.
Zone of Interest did get Best British Film, and Zone of Interest was about, I was just beginning to talk about it last week with Phil, which was about the life of Rudolf, well, not the life, but the daily living, if you like, of Rudolf Hoss, who was the commandant at Auschwitz. And actually, it's a very good film. It's brutal, but it's a very good film. Anatomy of a Fall, which is a courtroom drama. Which
I was invited to by somebody who's blonde who lives in West London, but I ended up that she'd got her diary mixed up, so I never saw it. But I'm not bitter.
We'll go again.
But
it's definitely worth watching. Polish, French, bit German, bit Polish, bit French drama, a sort of whodunit where the witness is blind. So it's very interesting film and really well done. And then the other one that sort of bubbled to the surface, or should have bubbled to the surface, in my opinion, was something called Past Lives, which was a Korean-Canadian sort of love story. But the sort of thing whereby it's a cautionary tale, really. You know, should you answer the call out on Facebook from an old boyfriend or an old girlfriend?
No. Let's slam that conversation down immediately. No. I got something last year. Hi, do you remember me? I said, yes. Unfortunately, I do. That's my reply.
Oh.
It was horrible. It wasn't nice. I've got to say one thing as we steam endlessly, inexorably through 2024. My favorite film that I saw with you, and I've got to say my favorite film that I saw last year that has stayed with me since we saw it, the French film The Taste of Things. If you get a chance, it's on very, very limited. I've been telling everybody, and people have been sort of going through the Everyman and places going, oh yeah, you were right, thank God, because I don't want to get shouted at. Got enough of that going on. But the most wonderful film, if you can find it, it's called The Taste of Things. Oh, it's wonderful.
Lovely French film with Juliette Binoche.
Just gorgeous film.
Don't go hungry.
No, eat. Seriously, listen to Chantal. Eat before you go. You won't make it through the film if you're hungry, because you're salivating at every scene. Just marvelous, wonderful film. Right, what has come across your purview? When does the next season start? So just because you're out inside scoop on this, when do they start thinking? Oh, right, we've got to look for BAFTAs 2020. Is it 5?
It will be 25. Yeah, but the screening season starts in September, really.
All right.
And that goes through until final awards are chosen, which is about the second week of January. So that 4.5 months is a sort of action-packed 4.5 months.
So I've got to wait. I mean, the truth of the matter is, let's cut to the chase. I've got to wait till September till I hear emails. Are you busy?
No,
I've got to wait till September.
Not necessarily, because clearly films come out all the time. And
what happened to Ferrari? Anything? Did Ferrari get a nod for anything?
I think Ferrari will get some stuff at the Oscars. I think it got nothing at the BAFTAs at all, which surprised me.
Maybe it's the sound. Seriously, maybe it's the sound on the film. I love the film because I'm a petrol head. I thought it was great. But the sound,
I liked it, and Penelope Cruz was amazing, and I hope it gets some recognition at the Oscars.
She was great in that.
Yeah,
she was really, as was mine got right out, very tall guy. The guy who played Ferrari.
Oh, Adam Driver. Adam Driver.
I'm a big Adam Driver fan. I think Adam Driver's terrific.
He's brilliant.
He's terrific, and I thought he really inhabited being Enzo Ferrari with that kind of brutal focus and not a nice guy, but brilliant.
No, there will be other films to go to because not everything comes out at the end of the year, clearly. But there is a season, and that's when it is. But the next few things coming up, I will be on the phone asking you if you want to come.
Yes, please. The answer is yes, unless it's a documentary about jaguars in the Peruvian jungle. So, not that I'm harping on about it. We turned up in the wrong cinema. So, when it's the Oscar time, do they?
Oscars are in 2 weeks.
Right. So do they use the BAFTAs as like the, I was going to say the carbon copy, but you crazy kids won't know what I'm talking about. Do they use that as a photocopy? Can I say that anymore?
No. No,
They don't.
template. No, absolutely not.
Completely fresh, right? Totally
Yeah,
fresh.
yeah. And I mean, I think that Oscar members may be a little bit influenced by the BAFTAs. The BAFTAs used to come after the Oscars. And actually, in many ways, when they moved the BAFTAs before the Oscars, it made the BAFTAs more relevant to what was going on. Yes. Otherwise, the BAFTAs always looked like a sort of British
kind of a Me Too afterthought. Oh, here's a little. Yeah, I get that. I think it was a good idea. Was that your idea? I bet it was your idea to move it.
No, it wasn't my idea. But it raised the importance of the BAFTAs in the international film community.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's great.
But America will vote differently to us. They do. The films will be less esoteric. They'll be more influenced by American movies. And
Barbie. I mean, Barbie's probably going to get a nod somewhere.
Well, I'm sure it'll get something. It would be crazy if it didn't. I think Ferrari will. I think an American Fiction will.
I don't know what that is.
And I think our niche European movies will be less favoured by the Americans.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll see. We'll see.
Excellent. Excellent.
So I'll tell you what I've seen this week.
Oh, yes, please do.
Well, it's a hard watch. And I found it quite triggering because, you know, we all went through lockdown together, and most of us came out together, thank God. And there's a very good 3-part drama with Joanne Froggatt, who
I like her.
Will remember as
Downton Abbey, wasn't she?
Yeah, from Downton Abbey, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-part drama called Breathless, which is, you know, clearly a title to conjure over. And she plays the part of a hospital consultant on the front line of looking after people coming in who need help with COVID symptoms. It's based on a book by a real doctor. Jed Mercurio is one of the co-writers.
We like him.
With another writer who also was a doctor. So you've basically got input from 3 medics, 3 people who either are medics.
Was Jed Mercurio a doctor at some point?
I think he was. I may have got that wrong, but I think he was. I think he was one of those.
Isn't he? He's not the line of duty. Is he trigger point or line of duty? He's Mr. Line of Duty, isn't he?
Correct. I mean, he is one of the best writers, executive producers
he's
that we've got in
terrific.
this country.
He's terrifically skilled.
Yeah.
Wish I had his
talent. But the story is very clever because it just takes this one hospital, this one group of frontline workers, and it shows you their private lives and how they wrestle with not seeing their kids, or, you know, only seeing them on the other side of the room, or, I mean, just awful at that sort of personal impact. And then you keep cutting back to the hospital, but then rather cleverly, they intercut stupid things from Boris saying, it's all fine, I went round and shook everybody's hand yesterday. And so you get increasingly irritated by being shown all the inadequacies of how the government was running it. That's if you feel that the government ran it incorrectly. I mean, clearly everybody was making it up as they were going along.
Absolutely.
And you see frustration from the medics.
But it was.
It was.
I'm not an apologist for any government, because I don't. Yeah. I'm a libertarian, so I think they're all terrible people. But and what happened this week in the House of Commons was absolute utter disgrace, and I'm so angry I can't even talk about it. However, the pandemic was completely uncharted. No one knew what they were doing because we'd never experienced it before. So it's so easy to say, I'd have done. Really? You'd have done this? You'd have done that? If you thought millions of people were going to die, you'd have that on your shoulders.
Yeah.
It's very easy to be critical, and hindsight's a brilliant thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there were a couple of easy pot shots that looked a little bit mean, that weren't entirely necessary. But then there was other stuff that was, you know, where they talked about PPE and the government were saying, it's fine, we've got everything we need. But then you knew from the hospitals that actually it wasn't there. And people were being, you know, they were taking in masks that school children were making, or building supply companies were bringing in masks. Yeah. So, you know, clearly the system wasn't perfect, but it's worth watching. It is a little bit triggering. I mean, I literally felt quite sort of panicked again about, oh my God, I remember how I felt when we went into lockdown.
Really?
But she's so good, and it's absolutely worth persevering.
Joanne Froggatt is a terrific actress, and she's also one of my favorite voiceover artists
Oh,
for audiobooks. She's tremendous. She does
really?
loads of audiobooks, and she's very good. Very, very good. I've never met her.
didn't know that.
Just putting it out there. You know, she's talented and multifaceted, which is great.
Yeah. No, she is terrific, and she's got a lovely North Yorkshire accent, which I like. So, anyway,
And I like it that she's brave, because she looks, you know, au naturel, shall we say. There wasn't any glamour or anything. She looks like, you know, ragged, as you would expect her to be on the front line. Graham Pack saying the whole world was after PPE. Unfortunately, mistakes were made over buying it. Yep. I can say that slightly. Yeah.
Indeed.
God. Oh my God! Look, it's interesting. The interesting for this is not one of his funny comments. I've got it recorded and not watched it yet. Both my children are doctors and went through the fun and games during COVID at their hospitals.
Oh God!
So there you go. So Graham knows from his personal experience with his kids what that was like. No wonder that's triggering. Ooh.
Yeah, I did. I mean, I never fell out of love with the NHS, because I am a great supporter of it. My mum and dad joined it on the day it was created in 47 or 48. But it made me fall in love again with the NHS, because I do remember how the country so came together in support of the NHS. And it did make me just think, my God, those people were really put through the ringer.
It's an interesting thing how people can, and I'm a classic example, just reads the room wrong. Every now and then, Katie Hopkins, who I'm not going to get into whether you like her, whether you hate her, whatever. She has a voice.
Yeah.
And she was yesterday on her little piece, because it's only a little piece, was just popping at them. And I thought, really, why do that now? What's to gain? And she did something which I was really upset about, and I was surprised. Katie Hopkins, I interviewed her. We did an hour's interview ages ago. She's a highly intelligent person, whether you like her or whether you loathe her. She's not stupid. And she did a Kate Garraway remark that my stomach knotted up. I'm sitting on my own in my study, and I thought, why would you do that? That's so freaking unnecessary. That shocked me actually. Shocked me to do that. You know, I push the boundaries, but I'd never do that. I just wouldn't. Think it's very disrespectful. Very, very disrespectful. I'm surprised for someone so smart. Anyway, what's worth watching?
So I'm not sure that you can see it, but for those who've got Sky, there's a really good documentary on Mark Zuckerberg, who actually I really liked by the end of it. There's a bit of, you know, stuff of glossing over and making him look pretty damn good. But the guy's made $100 billion. I mean, you can't actually take that away from him.
Who hasn't?
Yeah. But what it questions is about the responsibility of power. And he's put through his paces. They show quite a lot of the congressional committee that he had to go and stand in front of, where they were asking him about, you know, what basically, was he meddling? Was he supportive? What was he trying to do? He effectively, Facebook and Instagram are the most important social media platforms in the world if you combine the power of the two of them, certainly at the time where this documentary starts.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think he wants to do good. I mean, if you think of the lunatics who've run businesses over the years, and Facebook could have come out of the brain of somebody absolutely crazy and bonkers and being divisive and awful and dreadful for the planet. This guy came across to me as actually being a responsible human being. I think he gets it. I think he wants to do the right thing by the world. So, but it's a great story. If you don't know the Facebook story, then it's really worth watching. He comes across incredibly well. And it's an easy watch. It's a one-off documentary called Zuckerberg, the King of the Metaverse. And it's on Sky, but it'll be everywhere eventually. No doubt.
I hope so. Interesting. Now, I was upset that I couldn't watch the new series of True Detective, and there was a long article saying, why did it miss? Why wasn't it as good as the other series? So
I disagree.
There you go. There you go.
I watched the final episode last night, and so many series I start and I never get to the end because I never get the time. And that's the one that I've put the time aside to see it all the way through to the end of the 6th episode. Jodie Foster is fantastic. Her co-star is amazing.
Jodie Foster's great. I mean, what an actress.
Yeah, it was confirmed yesterday that they're going to a 5th series.
Excellent.
So
right.
I didn't.
Excellent.
I didn't read who the stars were, but there's going to be another series.
And Karen said, "I love the True Detective series with Jodie Foster. I was dying to see it, but ain't got Sky, so
no. You'll have to wait for a while.
Oh, okay. All right then. Do you like that Michael McIntyre show? His Big Show.
Big Show. Well, I've watched.
It's quite fun, isn't it? It's innocuous.
Yeah. No, it is fun. I see the clips as they come up on my Facebook feed, often of him phoning somebody, getting the mobile phone of somebody famous.
Oh, the text to everyone or text to all or whatever.
That's funny. I enjoy it. It's it's silly.
It's funny because I never know who the celebs are. I never know who the celebs. I have a clue. But I like him. I know it. It's just cheesy light entertainment, but that's okay. There's a space for it.
Yeah, he is a really nice man. I don't think there's an evil bone in his body.
No.
He is so warm.
Yeah.
And I love the way that he sort of titters and laughs at his own jokes, but they're good jokes. He's a very good comedian. He's a good writer.
I was giving a talk yesterday to the Celebrant Circle, and I was explaining, because he makes it look easy, but it's not. And of course, he road tests all his jokes.
Does he?
Oh, yes. He has, Michael McIntyre does very small little focus groups, and I don't blame him. Sometimes, and friends of mine have been in it, no more than maybe 10, 15 people with notepads, and he goes through everything, and they critique it. They're just members of the public, by the way, and critique it, and this is good, and that. And that's why his stuff is so good. Because he works damn hard. He works hard at it. Same as Ricky Gervais does his works in progress I was lucky to see Armageddon with a small audience, and it was great. He had notes in his hand, and some stuff's working, some stuff's dying on its backside. It's great. I love seeing that. It's fascinating.
Terrific.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Graham Pack. Speak of the devil. I saw Michael McIntyre last night at a work in progress show with around 200 people in the audience. So that's quite big for him. Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to know more about those, frankly.
Yes, they're very good. Well, Graham Pack is your man. He seems to have an inside track. Let's make that up. There we are. I'm so pleased, and I do want to say thank you for joining us on the Midday Show. I'm not saying goodbye. What I mean is I'm really thrilled that you stuck with us. I appreciate it enormously. I know the audience absolutely thrilled that you're here and didn't go away. It's great. If you're wondering where Phil Dave's actually traveling, and he only realized, oh my God, I've got to get to X. I said, well, you can't do both. You can't do the show from the car as you're driving up the motorway. So that's why he's not here. There's no subtext. Phil will be back.
No worries. We'll see him next week, I'm sure.
We will see him next week. Chantal, thank you so much.
Great pleasure.
Lovely to see you.
Have a smashing weekend.
I appreciate it. So, do my best. Thank you. Isn't she great? Chantal Rickards, the absolute best. And she's very, very modest about, what she's done and what she's achieved and her place in the industry. Unlike so many other people, she's great. And thank you all. That's what I wanted to say from the heart of my bottom. That's not right. Thank you for staying with us. Thank you for supporting the Midday Show. It's going to be better, bigger, more exciting, lighter, because I think that's what you want. If I've got it wrong, we can readdress it. But I'm not going to be all about mental health and well-being. We're obviously going to talk about it a lot, but it's not going to be always top of the list anymore. Have a lovely, lovely weekend. Enjoy it. And as I always say, until we meet again on Monday, stay out of trouble. Bye-bye.